Hello there, and welcome to the CP7 podcast. My name's Palm,
And I'm Andy.
and together we are Chrono Passion 7. Hello, and welcome to another episode of your favorite watch-related podcast. Today, we have a brand that's new to us that caught our attention at Geneva Watch Days, an Italian brand called Gagà Laboratorio, or as they say in London, Gagà Laboratorio. This caught Andy's eye at the dinner we had with the limited edition. Andy made the interview happen, so I'm going to let him introduce our guest and the brand.
Awesome. I'm very pleased to introduce Mo Coppoletta from Gagà Laboratorio. So, warm welcome, Mo. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much for having me on board today. I'm very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Mo. What we're going to do first is a quick wristwatch check, and we noticed you've got something very, very special on your wrist. What have you got there then?
Well, today, by chance, I am wearing a Bethune. It's actually a DB25 Starry Sky. It's one of the very first. If it's not the first, it's the second or third ever produced back in 2010, 11. And so I got this one with a custom sky chart that they kindly did for me. And it's been on my wrist ever since because he has the sky chart of the day I was born. It's a watch that's very close to me, very dear to me.
Wow, that is an incredible piece. Andy, can you match that?
Oh, I don't think I can match the levels of the Bethune. What I can do is maybe match it on a sentimental level. So today I am wearing my Vertex, which is a British brand. And what's special about this is that it was given to my granddad for 40 years of work. So it's quite a small piece, very, very classic, but with a black and gold. With what I'm wearing today, it just felt correct to wear it. So not anything crazy, but on a sentimental level, it's very special to me. So that's what I'm rocking. But Palm, what have you gone for today?
Again, I've got nothing as special as both as those, but this is special in its own way. It's not so much for the watch. It's a Breitling Cult 41, and what it's on is the special thing. So it's on the REM straps collaboration we did. So the podcast did a collaboration with REM straps, and they've called it the Tiger, which is our logo. And so every time I wear this, it makes me smile. It has CP7 on the buckle, and it's got the podcast name written on the inside of the strap as well. So every time I look at it, I just remember the days of when we were designing the logo, choosing the name, and it just makes me just smile that, wow, look where we've gone from and where we are now. And so, yes, that is what I've got on my wrist.
Beautiful.
Superb choice.
It's all very sentimental today.
Yeah, maybe, it's the romance bit.
Heart. So the Italians
Yeah.
bring heart and soul,
There you
right?
go. There you go.
Exactly that. Mo, let's get into the brand, and it really caught my attention, the design of the Labormatic. But before we get into the watch itself, it's as much about the people as it is the watch and the brand. So just to start off, could you explain for our listeners your journey moving into Gagà Laboratorio and your involvement there and how the brand's progressed to where you are today?
Well, the brand is 2 weeks old because we haven't worked at it for 2 weeks. We've worked at it for almost 3 years, but we officially presented the watch days. So we are brand new. The brand is a spin-off of a much more well-known brand, especially in, I don't want to call them fashion watches, but more like very aesthetic watches, which is Gagà Milano. And the owner, Ruben Tomella, very good friend of mine, wanted to venture into that segment that at the moment I think is the most creative in the whole watchmaking world, which is a segment between 2000 and 5000. There's half a dozen brands that I can recall and more, which are very creative, very strong, with a lot of models and a lot of watches that are an expression of a lot of creativity. Somehow, the fact that the current climate, the world climate, and the watch climate at the moment, it seems like that bracket, that positioning is very, very much looked at. Because if you're a seasoned collector, you perhaps want to have something fresh and new on your wrist with a lot of design content without having to splurge again And if you are a new collector or a youngster, you want to belong to this watch community by having something that is very meaningful, and it's something that can show your appreciation for micro brands, micro independents at that level. So I accepted the challenge. Ruben said, please take over everything, take over the branding, take over the logos, the brand identity, the product itself, all the accessories, the communication overlook, have an overall at large feel at absolutely everything. And because I have other releases this year with other brands, with much more complicated watches that position themselves on the highest segment of the watch market, this was a big challenge for me, because if you have to design a watch that is in the segment between 20 and 50K, perhaps you can indulge more in finishing, and in a way there's more of a leeway to be plush and to, if you have to stay within the constraint of what the watch costs, you really have to push your design abilities to the limit. You really have to give something that whose perceived value is much greater than its actual market value. So I could only rely on my design skills. I have to couple that with an execution that was going to be flawless, because I wanted a watch that wasn't attackable from any corner. That's why we also use a La Joux movement. That's why we indulged with a lot of beautiful finishing and the construction of the case, 7-part case, 9 parts dial, the glass, the everything was taken care of. The tank buckle, the straps, the Fagliano straps, the box, the outer box, all the literature that goes with it, the tags, everything. So it was a great, great challenge, which I gladly took, because the overall world reception of the watch and the whole storytelling and the whole accessories around, it was a big badge of honor. For me, it was like, wow, we've done a good job. Because you might think you've done a good job, but it's the worldwide reception of your peers and the industry, and that can vouch that. Without that, it's much more difficult.
You was involved in every single process of the rebranding, if I understand correctly, and then the whole...
It's not so much a rebrand, it's a spin-off. He wanted, for sentimental reasons, to keep the first part of the word. And that's also, there are some design cues that are carried through, like those, the shape of the lugs, which I redesigned anyway, the crown at 12. Those were the two strong assets that made Gagà Milano a recognizable watch. Now I took that, repackaged it completely, but I wanted to pay an homage to where it was coming from. And we had a lot of back and forth whether to keep the first half of the name the same or change it. But at the end, I went like, you know what? It's good to pay kudos and to salute events, things, passion projects that performed very well in the past. So I agree. From here, we're then going to develop more, but this bridging, I really liked it. The project, though, is complete a new adventure from whatever point of view.
And you did the full design process, so I'm guessing you come from an artistic background to able to do the designs and the drawings of the new watch design as well.
Yes, of course. We had our back and forth. I know the brand very well because I did their logo 20 years ago, 15 years ago. I redesigned the logo. So now it was just a matter of finding the right path of inspiration. And for me, it was quite easy. It's an Italian brand. It's from Milan, the most brand with most manufacturers, facilities in Italy, where industry was a big thriving success, where all the post-Second World War design was created both in everyday use objects and at a higher level. So I followed that path and tried to take that as an inspiration.
Wow.
That's really interesting, actually. Just for the listeners at home, if you want to have a look at these watches and the original Gagà Milano, they will be on the show notes on our website at www.chronopassion7, the number 7.com. Mo, I just want to go into this design, and it's fascinating because it's not a design I've seen before. When we saw it at Geneva, it really did stand out, and it looked a lot more expensive than the price you're asking for it. We were with the limited edition, who have some very big collectors, and the watches they were talking about, they're Bethunes like the one you own, and many, many more MBNFs, and it didn't look out of place at all. It just looked, we were too scared to ask how much it was. We're journalists, so we are not watch collectors. We were like, oh gosh, it's going to be 30, 40, and then when he told us it was under 4,000 euros, we were like, hang on. We discussed this in a previous show. We would actually come back here. Come on, let's see this. I don't
We were
mind trying it on
excited.
now. The point is, the design from, you say, the Gagà Milano is, you can see it's a fashion watch. But the cues, you've got the flared lugs and the crown at 12 o'clock. And you've made it, like I say, the Milano does look like a fashion watch. It doesn't look particularly high end, but it looks like it serves a purpose it sets out to do. But you have managed to transform it. And even the sectors, the sage green and the grey on the Cinquanta and the Bauhaus, the two models that you have. Talk us through how you transformed a fashion watch into a watch that made us journalists think was 10 times the value.
Thank you for that, because the first prototype that I received over a year ago, they were just of the case and somehow the layout of the dial. And already there, the gravity and the perception you have of that watch, I put it next to a few of mine one night as an exercise. I had 1 or 2 DBs, I had a Vacheron. And I tell you what, I was like, it sits there. It's not another, it's another category for many other things, but it was belonging there. It was belonging there. Probably the fact, that my influences are many. When I designed it, I wanted that pebbly feel, that stepped lugs, that the 1920s a bit came in, the 60s came in, the 50s came in. So I wanted to detach the sides in order to create this step, this podium of coming down, which was reminiscing of all those beautiful cases in this up until the 60s. I wanted this pebbly, soft touch, like remind me of the Disco Volantes. I wanted to be like a Lambretta scooter, like a Vespa backhand, I wanted all those cues to really show there,
So
all
is
the
that green?
moldings. And the green,
Sorry, is
that's why
that
it's called
green? It's very
Cinquanta.
Vespa.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all those,
Yeah.
and not only that, is all those, how do you call them? Those household objects like the Smeg fridge, the fans, the San Giorgio fans, the food processors, the TV sets, all that Italian design, which were, in a way, objects that were accessible to many with a bit of effort. They were accessible to absolutely everybody, but with a bit of effort, that lower middle class could, with a little bit of saving, they could aim for a Lambretta. They could aim for a Smeg fridge. That was my point with this watch. It's a watch that it's not for free. It's not a few hundreds, but with a bit of effort, you could wear a nice piece of design. So I wanted the design to speak volume. And the design had to be coupled with the fantastic finishing, and I have to overcome some technical difficulties with some design solutions, like, it's a sweeping hour, it's not jumping hour. So on a lot of sweeping hours from the 50s and 60s, there was what I call a no man's land when you were on the 25, 30 minute, because when you're between 1 and 2, the disc has an empty space. So when you're between 2 and 3, the single digits offer a lot of empty areas. So I divided the areas clearly, the hour clearly, and I repeated a small number in the middle, across them. So at least at a glance, you have to overcome with the design. So you're still on the 1, you're on 130, 140, 2 is coming, 3 is coming. So, if you didn't have that, you would have, the time reading would have been difficult. So, I wanted this watch to be absolutely perfect from a functionality point of view, on top of being beautiful to look at. That's why I left a lot of that decorative space with the inserts, with the moldings, with the dome sectors, with the dome bagel kind of mini track, with the curved hand. It's a lot of like those objects back in the day, which were beautiful to adorn your household, but they became more beautiful nowadays when you look back at a jet age chrome car from America. You go like, how the hell did they do that back then? And they were just driving them. There were
Yeah.
thousands of them in the US streets. And there were all these gigantic ships, spaceships, going around with the moldings and the lights and the tail lights and the chrome. How did they do that? The jukeboxes. How beautiful were they? They
Yeah.
were beautiful back then. But today you go like, wow. So all that came into the big food blender that I used to get inspired to create this. The wearability.
That's very interesting what you say about styling there, because we spoke to Nicholas from Fears, a British brand, about jumping hour watches, and he had a lot of open space, like you talk about. It's very English, understated open space. And with your one, it's very Italian, fills it very stylish. Again, the design language is so Italian as well. It's
Thank
just
you.
classic Italian. It's not over the top. It's just classic. It fits so well. And again, comparing it to the way Spheres did it as well, which is very understated.
Sure.
There's a jumping hour, but it's just goes to show you.
There's an English austerity
Exactly,
to it.
yeah. Yes, and an Italian
That's good.
flamboyance. Yeah,
That's good. That's good. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, a great way of visualizing it, I think, and it shows that there's a very English way of design and a very Italian way of design, and both concepts work
Yeah, but
perfectly.
as it should be. But these days, you have these pockets of creativity, which are either the small independents, like we talked so far, or the big independents. Because somehow and here I'm not criticizing or anything, there are other politics involved. So there is a trend to homogenize everything. Whereas the beauty of the design is the passion and what you put into it. That's design at its best. Design is not just regurgitating something from the
Yeah.
past in order to satisfy a commercial need that I've studied before. You reverse the thing. Start from the product and then try to get it into the market. Don't start from what the market wants and then go to the drawing table.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you have to take into consideration before you design it. You can't just be an artist, because then it's art. It's not design. Design has to have a functionality and also have to have an appeal, even because you're designing a product and the product needs to sell. So there are many things you need to take into account. But starting from what the market trends are doesn't work. You should start from what perhaps the trend could be in 3-5 years, because it takes 3-4 years to create a watch from scratch, brand, blah blah blah. So you have to stand on the fence and be creative, but cool, but sharp, but a bit avant-garde. But you have to be in anticipation of what the trends are going to be, with the colors, with the thing. You know how fickle the watch world could be. Before it was bulky watches, then thin watches, then small watches, then before nothing less than 44. Now if it goes over 41, too big. And it was just 3 years ago they were wearing tuna cans at their wrist. And now everyone wants this 39 millimeters, 2 hands only. I mean, it's crazy. There's everything and the opposite of everything. So it takes a lot of consideration.
Yeah, constantly evolving, and well, you've executed it brilliantly, because,
Thank you
as you
very
said,
much. I appreciate it.
extremely well received and really grabbed our attention. But just going back to the design elements, but linking to the movement, you mentioned like old Italian blenders, and is that inspiration at all part of the way the movement is working? Because the movements, it's a very animated watch. There's a lot moving on the watch in a circular motion. Like, where did the inspiration come from? And did you have difficulties able to incorporate that kind of mechanism with the design and form factor which you wanted as well?
It's a very nice question. It's actually on point, because I wanted everything to be generated from the middle. I mean, you would say like any other watch. No, but I wanted this sort of explosion from the middle. So the medallion, it's a second hand, and it doesn't have the typical second marker, but it shows that the watch is alive. And if you really want, there are markers, so you can tell your second. Then the minute wraps around a bagel minute track, and then the hour is hidden, the hour wheel, and it has the aperture to show it. So the mechanism of La Joux-Perret movement allows that, but then you need to intervene with your design in order to substitute what it was going to be a hand, to substitute it with a disc and cover it on top. So how to stack them without changing the movement much. You need to know a little bit how a watch works. That's why, luckily, I'm blessed, because in life I've always been asked to design products and things that I'm a big fan of, a purveyor of, or a client of, or a big customer of. So I know how it feels to be on this side of the fence, on the consumer. So, you get to know what you would like to see, and then you apply it when you go on the other side. If they ask me to design I don't know, something else that I'm not a fanatic of, I will probably encounter much more difficulties. Design a watch, having a good watch knowledge is essential, not just for the volume, but also how watch movement works. In fact, then we personalize the rotor, but if you see the box is outer box as a window, a frosted window with again the emblem. So the emblem starts from the rotor, the second, the outer box, like an inverted pyramid of the same, like a Batman, night projector in the sky. And it goes out like this. And it goes down a perfect, it's all my mind, the place. Listen, you have to look at it and go like, I like it, but if I want to scratch deeper, there are more meanings and more semantic things to figure out. But I like that, You don't have to know them all, but they're there if you want to. That's why you have to infuse everything you do with a lot of content.
Yeah, I mean, you can see a lot of that in the design. Again, it's fascinating. We were looking forward to speaking to you about the inspirations, and I can see everything that you're saying in there. And that's really a testament to the very good craftsmanship and design that's gone into it. But what made you choose the sweeping hour? What made you choose Le Jour Paré as your movement? And what made you the engineering behind it? What made you pick the things you did and 7 pieces and things like that?
I am a big fan of sweeping hours, even because 50s, 60s, 70s was a huge use of sweeping hours with the wildest shapes. And those wild shapes were not just for the uber rich, they were common watches. Wild shapes. Windows with a beautiful beveled entrances, apertures, solid watches with small apertures that were showing. It's a fascinating way to display the time. The digital time is very beautiful. I'm a big fan of the Zeitwerk. I'm a big fan of the Bethune Digitale. I'm a big fan of Uhrwerk. I'm a big fan even if they're satellites. But anyway, I just didn't want to debut with a two-hands watch. I wanted something a bit more in that style. Plus, I was referring myself to that historic moment. So why not going a little bit more sci-fi, avant-garde? And that is it's much more avant-garde than having two hands. At the beginning, to tell you the truth, we opted for a Selita movement. But then, and no disrespect, we wanted to upgrade even more because, for that price point, I didn't want that watch to be attackable from any angle. You might like it, you might not like it, but you could not say it's not well done. A lot of these watches in this segment, you see the rendering, you see the picture, you go, wow. And sometimes you handle them and you go like, I see why they cost 1,500, 2,000, 3,000, 350. I get it. It's fine, but we wanted to pool all our resources in order to stay within the bracket and deliver everything that we could to show that it can be done. And that was the main point.
Great answer. Great insight.
Yeah, it certainly achieved. Like just going back to that dinner when we were handling the watch, I think that the only disappointment is I wish I had more time with it. And probably the biggest downfall of a watch, which isn't a downfall, so don't take this the wrong way, is because it's such a beautiful pebble shape. Half of the time you want to take it off and just be feeling the shape of the watch itself. Like, as you say, it's so pebble-like, so beautiful as an item as well as a watch, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but also consider that the case, for example, is 7 parts. 7 parts excluding the back window, the glass. Despite having many volumes, despite having step bezel, outer ring, triple step lugs, anyway, the overall feel is one. And that is fantastic. So you can softly get every single soft step down, and it's continuous, it's not harsh. We live in an era where the softness of the coach builders of the 50s, 60s left way to many angles. The design of cars or objects is very angular these days. Whereas what made people dream back in the days was how soft all those bodies were, how soft a Bugatti was, how soft the Ferrari was designed, how soft that fridge was. Everything was soft. Now it's much more. There are many volumes, but they have angle, inner angle, outer angles, inner angle, and it becomes a bit more harsh to the eye. It's good, whatever, but bring back that softness of the Porsche 356, like one of like a bean, you know, floating. That's my taste anyway. So
Yeah, no, you can see it. Like it's gone one extreme to another. Now, if you look at the Cybertruck, like it's famously
yeah,
ridiculed for looking like a child's drawing on a fridge, right?
yes, exactly.
And we need
It's
those
it's
smooth, more natural, organic looking designs. Yeah. So, Pam, any final questions before we need to round up?
I've got many questions. I don't know if we have time for them, but what does the future hold for Gagà Laboratorio? Are you going to expand on this design with different complications, or are you going to go completely different shapes and try have some fun? Because the watches you love, the Bethunes and the ones you've mentioned before, they try something different every time. And is that something that you can see? Because I can tell you're very influenced by independent watchmaking, and you've got a passion,
I
pure
have to.
passion.
I can claim I was there. I was there from the very first day the Bethune opened. So I saw it all. I saw when they were. You couldn't give them away, and
Yeah.
up until when independents were the only thing a man could collect. So I saw when the independents were struggling, and I said back then, if we lose the independent, we lose watchmaking. And now they have the success they deserve. But that's a small thing. So I was there. I know what it means to
Yeah.
push.
So you lived it. Yeah.
Well, you know, when no one wanted it, and now everyone wants it, and I'm glad. As I said before, I try to pay homage to the tradition of the old brand that was so successful for Ruben. There was an emotional attachment. In terms of how we're going to decline this model, the Labormatic, every single special edition that any retailer or media, whomever, is going to request has to have a very strong storytelling weight, because we're not here to decline this watch in 5,000 colors, because everyone who tried to do that with many limited editions by changing the color, changing this, changing the insert, basically what you have, the effect you have is you devalue your core collection. That core collection becomes normal, so everyone wants the special edition because let's see what the next one's going to be, and so you create this waiting game that the regular stuff is looked upon as in that's just the normal production. We can't devalue that. So every step we take, especially in these tough times for everything in the world, has to be carefully planned, carefully communicated, has to have a strong storytelling, has to offer something that the regular production doesn't give you. And the regular production has to give you something that the special edition can give you. So we're going to be very, very, very astute and very careful in dishing out special edition right, left, and center for color declination and combination. On the other end, we're going to also develop, we need to run. And we have something in the pipeline, which is something you wouldn't expect, something different, another case, another small complication that is beautiful and no one would expect that. And it's a completely new watch. Always in this thing, always in the same commercial value, in the same push for design to the max, something cool to strive about on different environment. During the day you wear this, during the night you wear this, when you go climbing you wear this. So we go back to what watchmaking creativity used to be. And it's all laid out. We have a roadmap. It's going to be long and difficult, but we're there.
And fun by the sounds of it as well.
A lot of
and
fun.
There's a lot more to come. This is just the beginning, I'm guessing, right?
We're just 2 weeks old.
Yeah.
Just getting started.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Mo. I honestly wish we
Pleasure.
could talk for longer.
Actually, I have one more
Yeah,
question. We just
sure,
quickly.
please.
Yeah, well, no, we're short. I have
Yeah,
one
we
more.
can cut that.
So this is more generic on
Sure.
Italian watchmaking. What are your views on Italian watchmaking today? Do you think it carries? Andy and I are big supporters of Italian style, as is a lot of the world. And Italian watchmaking, I think it used to be a lot more prominent, a lot more in people's eye line. But now I think with Panerai and Bulgari, there's not so much that is really happening in that Italian space. What are your views on that? Do you think that people just don't know, or do you think that's an actually valid point?
I think, well, let's not forget that the Italians, not anymore, but they were up until the 80s and 90s, the trendsetters as collectors. They were the first one to wear reversals, to wear the Rolex over a tuxedo. They were the big trendsetters in that department.
Daytona as well.
It was created in it. Many of them were. Not the real one, but many of them were. I have to say, okay, the brands you mentioned, they belong to big groups, so it's all a Swiss-made product, but with Italian branding, definitely. Bulgari has a fantastic heritage and a great image. Panerai, we go back. But there are a lot of smaller brands and a lot of manufacturers. In Italy, we have manufacturers who can create movements, parts, finishing, cases, leather straps. Incredible manufacturers. And they haven't been exploited as much as they should. With this, I'm not saying that this will happen, but seeing an Italian hub of watch industry purveyors, watch industry producers, I think that will change. It will revolutionize not only small Italian brands, but the watch industry as a whole. Don't forget, Italy and Switzerland are just touching each other, and all of them are in the northern part, and the contamination between the two. This could open the gate to a new flood of suppliers and creatives. Who knows? I see this bubbling out there. So mind my word, maybe never going to happen, but if it will happen, you say, oh, we spoke about it with Mo a couple of years ago.
We heard it here first.
We heard it first. That's what I think.
And everyone, and our listeners heard it here first.
Exactly that.
From you.
So watch out for the Italian watch industry.
Yeah, maybe Gagà Laboratorio sets the trend. You're the leaders behind this movement.
Who knows? Who knows?
Bring them together, because in Britain that's happened. There's an alliance.
It has happened.
Clockmakers, So could that happen in Italy? Do you think, or is it still you need to get everyone together and talking?
Well, England has a huge tradition that dates back on the deck clocks for ships and observatory, and then it was reclaimed back, and it worked very well. Then you go from smaller brand to Roger Smith and everything in between, so it's very good. I think Italians could get there. And now we have, for example, the Milano Watch Week, and I can see small steps being taken into that direction.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Mo. Been fascinating talking to you and talking all about Gagà Laboratorio, and we hope you've enjoyed your time here with us.
Absolutely, it's good to talk frankly. As I said always, I don't like to be scripted much. I like to roll with because it feels like a genuine conversation. That's when you get the best out of it.
100%, definitely. So, Andy, do you want to steer us out?
Yeah, gosh. I feel like we just, it's always when you get such a brilliant guest like yourself, Mo, it's so many layers of what we could get into, especially around the passion of design and just what you do. So definitely, I'm sure there'll be a part 2 in the future. Just thank you so much for coming on, sharing your passion. It's in our name, so it's great to have guests who share the same passion that we have. So for all of the show notes to take a closer look at these incredible pieces, please visit our website over at www.chronopassion7, as in the number 7.com, for the best possible audio visual experience. You can listen along. We'll even have the images of the stylistic inspirations on there as well. So all the details, what do the storytelling along with the audio will be there. So, unfortunately, that's hasta luego from me and adios for this episode. But I will hear you all and speak to you all in the very near next episode.
As Andy says farewell from Barcelona, Mo says farewell from, how can I say, arrivederci from Verona.
From Verona, yes.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, he said it properly. From Verona in Italy. From London, it's Toodle Pip and laters, and we'll see you and you'll hear us in the next one.